Welcome back, everybody. This is GDS. Before we start this video, I want you to tell me what you think about random tables. Do you actually use them? Do you make your own, or do you use someone else's? And if you do use someone else's, where do you get yours? Welcome back, everybody. This is GDS. I've been looking recently into OSR, which is, for those of you who don't know, the Organization of Student Representatives. And OSR, as a movement, has a lot of random tables. Now, I know that random tables are a little controversial, but recently I've kind of fallen in love with random tables. That's because I find that they are super useful for inspiring me. It's like talking to another person and workshopping something with them. But the primary benefit, I think, of random tables is that, remember, when you create a world, if you do it right, you're leaving space for either future you or your future players to fill and surprise you. Random tables do the job of helping you fill space that you purposefully left open. And by the way, if you don't know what I'm talking about by leaving space, I recommend that you check out my previous video on open world building, which includes leaving space, possibly the most important thing to do when you world build. So let's start talking about why many people don't like random tables, and I think it's because random tables can give you bad results. Like, you might roll on a random encounter table, which I think is the most common use, and it just gives you a dumb result that doesn't make any sense. For example, you're walking in a swamp and you suddenly run into some kind of fire devil. Now, the easy and purported fix to this is to make a random encounter table for each context. So in this case, you would roll on the swamp encounter table. I think this doesn't solve the primary issue of this use of random tables, which is if you rely on a table to tell you when an encounter happens and what the encounter is, you relinquish the ability to control and, most importantly, curate the player experience. So you might get a really tough encounters when the players are already struggling, or really easy encounters when the players are not being challenged enough. Now, I know words like control and curate are controversial. Some people say that they don't care if the world is not curated because it should, like the real world, have no obligation to serve dramatic structure. In other words, they say this encounter is easy or hard, but that's what would really happen. That's what would really happen is the GM version of that's what my character would do. By itself, it's not a bad justification as long as you don't use it to justify ruining another player's fun. It is your job as the GM to curate the player experience. In this case, verisimilitude can make you a bad GM if that's all you care about. So here is my answer for how to make random tables useful and why I fell in love with random tables. You can use random tables to make curating the player experience easier for you without throwing away verisimilitude. These tables will help you fill space that you purposefully left open. And I have 3 key things you should be doing with random tables which will accomplish this. Number 1 is to use the contents and results of random tables as suggestions. The human brain is really good at making associations between objects and predicting patterns. Random tables give you a list of plausible answers to questions to let your brain come up with an answer depending on the context. This doesn't mean that you should never take the answer from a random table if you really like it, but think of it more as suggestions. My second tip is to use or create random tables that answer specific questions vaguely. That's because a specific question, answered specifically, is like the traditional encounter table. It may give you answers you don't like and that are really difficult to modify because they're so specific, while a super vague question simply doesn't give you enough information to be able to fill the space that you left open. So here's an example of what I think is a good random table. Let's say we want to figure out what a ruin is. The players have gone through the wilderness and they found this ruin. What is it? One question can be, what structure was this in the past? And here are some 6 vague, useful answers. Religious building, defensive structure, settlement housing, a tomb or grave, civil infrastructure, or industry or production building. The reason these are useful is because they tell you in general what's there, but they let you come up with the details and fill in the gaps. In other words, just as promised, they help you fill in the space. You don't have to do it all by yourself, but you don't rely on the random table either. My third point on how to use random tables well is to use them as building blocks. So as we've discussed, you use random tables as scaffolding. Sometimes filling space is hard, so random tables fill some of the space for you. This allows you to more easily fill the rest. In this regard, random tables are the most powerful when they are combined with other random tables, because then the number of combinations increases exponentially. This varies the way in which space is filled and gives you more to work off of instead of everything being the same. Keep in mind that this is about using multiple tables, not using huge tables. Actually, I think that a bunch of 1d6 tables are a lot better than a single 1d100 table. And again, it goes back to the number of possible combinations. Recall our example of the ruin. One of the questions we answered was, what was this ruin before it became a ruin? We can build off of this answer. Another question we can ask is, how did it become ruined? And we can come up with multiple answers, like, it was destroyed by its enemies. It was a natural disaster. It was abandoned because it wasn't necessary anymore. Or it was attacked by monsters. Or it was ruined during the fall of some empire. Or maybe it was some kind of magical incident. As you add more of these tables, you create an incomplete story that you are able to fill. So use multiple tables in combinations instead of one huge table. That's everything I have for today. I hope you liked the video. If you did, please leave a like. And this is a small channel. We don't get many comments. I don't know why I said we, because it's just me here. I guess you're here as well. But if you leave a comment, I'll read it and I'll respond to it and heart it. So let's get a conversation going. If you like this sort of stuff, subscribe for more. I think I already said that, but I'm not sure. But we have a Discord. The link is going to be in the nonsense below. And I'll see you later. I forgot to mention this while recording the video, but some great examples that you can pull from for random tables can be found in the free version of Worlds Without Number, or if you look up Mythical GM Emulator online, look for a PDF and you'll find some great context tables.